Mediterranean climates. Mediterranean climate zone. Many of you have probably seen this chart. There are 5 Mediterranean regions in the world, the largest being the Mediterranean basin. And we start with, what do we have here? We have Spain and Portugal, we have southern France, we have the boot of Italy, we go across we have what we have, Serbia, Croatia, a few other countries, Lebanon and Israel. Then in the south here, we have Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia. Separated in here, we have deserts, so we don't have any Mediterranean there. And then we have a little bit of Egypt. All in all, there are 15 countries. Oh, and in between Spain and Africa, we have the Canary Islands. If you look at some of those plants, they're very diverse. So that's the largest. Second largest area would be Australia. There are 2 areas in Australia that have Mediterranean climates. One is basically on the southeast, and one is on the south, and it does kind of face west a little bit. Third largest would be our own California. In California, the Mediterranean climate actually technically extends from Baja, northern Baja, all the way up through northern California. It is bounded on the east by the Sierra Nevada, so it's a pretty big area. And I've really seen this. I've seen a lot of the plants that we grow here go up to Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, where it's not quite so hot, and they really do a lot better up there, some of them. Okay, who knows what's next? How about Chile? Okay, Chile, again, it's on the west coast, and in the north we have the Atacama Desert, and in the south we have a city called Concepcion, and Santiago, the capital of Chile, is right in the middle of the Mediterranean climate. And central Chile is a lot like California in that they have mountains just to the east, and those would be the Andes Mountains. And last is the Western Cape, the smallest of the Mediterranean climates, but the most diverse. The Western Cape has 80% of all species in the Mediterranean climate. Wow. No one's going to ask why. Wow. No one wants to risk it. No one wants to take this out. You can ask. Okay, Scott will spin.
Why though?
Scott will spin. Well, I thought it was really interesting. I mean, this little 3%, here they are, South Africa down here, 3%. 80% of the diversity in plants. Why? Because of their topography. They have the most diverse topography in that tiny little area. I searched and searched and searched for this information. I couldn't find it until I found this book on Mediterranean climates. If any of you are interested in information on Mediterranean climates, check it out. It is really worthwhile. It has everything you would ever want to know. Okay, so here's a breakdown. Here's the northern hemisphere, 70%. We have the Mediterranean basin at 60%, California at 10%. The southern hemisphere only has, what is this? 30%. So 22% Australia, Chile 5%, and South Africa 3%. Some of the characteristics in the summertime, California and Chile were most alike. We're pretty dry here in the summertime. The other areas, some of them have unpredictable rain. The reason we're dry is because we have the mountains. We in Chile both have the mountains right to our left, to our east. The other areas, Australia, South Africa, they don't have the mountains. They might get unpredictable monsoons. And the Mediterranean basin, if you go to Italy in the summertime, you're going to probably get some rain. They just get rain where they are. We all get light frosts of short duration. What's next? We all get the cooling influence from the ocean. And along with that, we get summer fog, which is a source of moisture for the plants. Do you know how many inches of summer fog some of these Mediterranean climates get? 10. 10 inches, which is about our annual rainfall. So fog does make a difference. Fires during the dry season. Okay, we had fires last week. Those weren't natural fires, right? They were man-made, so that's a little... What was that? Oh, well, no. Well, typically we get our fires in the fall. Okay, right? It's really dry. Plants' characteristics. They're strongly mycorrhizal. You've probably heard that term. There's a large network of bacteria and fungus underground, way larger than the root system of plants. And what this does is the mycorrhizal fungus gets access from this system of fungus to higher water and mineral capacity. In return, the bacteria, the fungus, gets carbohydrates from the plants. That's kind of it in a nutshell. Where is Susan Lentz today? Is she out here? Oh, there's my biologist. She can help me out if you have any questions. Oh, many of these plants, California natives included, but particularly the Australian plants and the South African plants, grew up in a very, very harsh environment. Their roots became very adept at getting what they need from the soil. So, if you plant your Proteaceae, your Protea, and then you decide, maybe once it's getting established, you know what, it really look better over there. So you get the shovel out and you move that puppy, you're going to kill it. Guaranteed, you will kill it. You are really destroying that root system. You may have heard that South African and Australian plants don't like phosphorus. That's the second digit in that 3-digit fertilizer thing. You also know probably that you don't fertilize your California natives, right? So once you plant these plants, leave them where they are. Don't disturb the roots. I had a friend that had weeds under her Protea. She got her a little tiller out, you know. She got dead meat. That Protea died. So you've got to mulch. Mulch. Most of the plants are small and shrubby, as we'll see when we go ahead and do our little tour. They're aromatic. In order for the plants to be aromatic, it takes an investment from the plants. They've got to produce chemicals to become aromatic to deter herbivores. So it takes a bit. So as a result, many of the leaves on these plants are small. The plant doesn't have time to put these chemicals out and to grow big leaves as well. That's one of the reasons we have small leaves. And because the plants are so busy producing these chemicals, the plants burn easily because they've got all these chemicals. But, not to worry, I'm aromatic. We have a job here. We have plants to smell these. I have a terrible sense of smell, but I can smell these. These are a couple of really, can you smell them? Crush them a little bit. It's called the Philotheca myoporides. We'll see it on one of the slides later. The common name is longleaf waxflower. Just a plant with tiny little leaves with, can you smell it? Yeah. You can smell it, Jennifer? Yeah, you can smell it. Aromatic. What next? Burn easily due to volatile chemicals, but that is not a problem because these plants, many of these plants are equipped for fire survival due to seeds, first of all. Ceanothus and chamise, for example, drop their seeds. Do you know how long they will live in the ground? Valerie knew 100 years. A fire will come and the seeds will sprout. I only have 2 of these, so pass these all the way around the room, please. These are Banksia seed pods. Now, you will see a Banksia in your, when you go through the Australian garden. Notice that some of them are open, the seed pods are open, some of them are not open. Now, I have one at home that I didn't bring. I had a Banksia and I decided that I had a nice seed pod that's going around, and I said, well, I'm going to open the seed pod up and I'm going to get the seeds up and I'm going to plant them. I swear, this is the truth. I took a hammer and a chisel, I swear. I could not open that up, I swear. I swear. Finally, 400-degree oven 1 hour.
Wow.
Everything opened up.
Wow.
Amazing. So a lot of plants are like this, including plants like the pine cones. Many of the pine cones don't open unless they have redwood. Redwood needs fire, or the cones from a redwood need fire. What else? Oh, what are we on? We're seeds. Okay, seeds. So there's the Banksia, Ceanothus. Thick bark. Oh, Susan. She's going for it.
I just wanted to add. Okay, a friend of mine, Rick Halsey, is the director of the Chaparral Institute, and you're kind of talking around the native chaparral, and he said the most common misconception is that chaparral plants need fire to propagate and keep going, but that's not actually the case. He said that they can survive fire, but they do not require fire. So, he just gave a very...
Linda says a lot of our native chaparral do not require the fire to get restarted for the seeds to start. And we'll see that with, I have an example of a South African plant. You'll see it in a minute. What else? Thick bark.
May I also I'd like to make an
Whoa.
observation. It was an observation. It was not a question.
I don't know. One apiece. Okay. Observations included, I should have said. This is cork oak has a very thick bark. If you have a fire, if we have a fire, and it comes through a cork, and you will see a forest of cork oak out here, the fire will not burn the cork oak. Look how thick that bark is. It's amazing. So it will survive fires.
Does cork come from this?
Does corks come from the cork oak? Yes. I'll show you a little bit, but your tour guide, when you tour, will tell you all sorts of things about it. What's next? Below ground organs. A lot of plants have below ground organs. But actually some of our plants like the heteromelias, the toyon, actually has a burrow beneath ground. So if a fire comes along, destroys the top of it, it will come back from its burrow. So many plants have below ground organs, which will help out. What else? Some other characteristics. Some plants may be vertical. The leaves may be vertical to avoid the sun. For example, your Arctostaphylos are vertical. Eucalyptus, you know for sure eucalyptus are vertical. Some plants actually are able to change their orientation during the day. If they want sun, they'll be like this, and then they'll change to vertical. Ceanothus is an example of that. Is it time to pass the Ceanothus around? Okay. These are courtesy Mary Freestaff brought these in. The interesting thing about the Ceanothus leaf is notice that there are like a number of veins that all come from the very center. And these leaves, you really don't see many plants with similar leaves. But that's Ceanothus. And I know you've all seen Ceanothus probably, but how often do you actually sit there and examine the leaf? Is it very thick? It's not very thick. It's kind of thin. So that's it. Oh, some plants grow deciduous.
They're all hybrids.
Some plants, actually, as you know, mostly with the California natives, not so much with the Australian and the South Africa, they drop their leaves in the heat of the summer. Not to be confused with plants that are like fruit trees that are deciduous. They just drop their leaves and they'll grow back when we get a little more moisture. Small leaves, many are hairy, like the Abutilon palmeri. Touch these leaves, they are so nice and soft. Oh, and notice the leaves have this vertical orientation. There, I'm sorry. The interesting thing, I noticed on these last week when I was looking at these to figure out if this would be a good plant to bring in, I looked at the leaf, and then I went, and it looks very silver out in the sun, and then I looked at the leaf, and I touched it, and I went like that. The darn thing turned green. I mean, it really, when it's in this vertical, it was gray, When it's sitting flat, it's green. Quite a little characteristic. That's a Butylon palmary. I guess we talk about that later, but it is native to the Anza Borrego Desert and other parts of western United States. Some leaves are waxy. You'll see, you know what a Rucintegrifolia is, lemonade berry. You'll see some of those as we're touring today, and those leaves are a little bit waxy. Waxy leaves protect the leaves from water. From water loss. Another thing about hairy leaves, they do a couple of things for the plant. First of all, they protect the plant from water loss. The hairs protect the plant. If wind is blowing across the top of the leaf, the hairs protect the leaf. They do not lose as much water. The other thing is, if we have that morning fog, the fog comes in, it sits on those little hairs. And so the plant gets water from the fog. Where were we? Waxy. Waxy leaves do not come for free. Look at when you see the roost. Some of the things, just like chemicals, waxy leaves take a big investment from a plant. Some of your waxy leaves are 3 times as thick as a normal leaf. Big investment from the plant. So what do these leaves do in return? Some of them actually stay on the plant for 2 years, rather than 1 year. They might be evergreen, but they don't drop their leaves as easily, often if they're waxy. Gray-green foliage to reflect sunlight. I guess we kind of looked at that with that Butylon when it comes along. Also your artemisias, California native. A lot of the proteas have a gray-green foliage, so there's a lot of plants with that. And the acacias as well. That will reflect the sunlight. The last one here, dimorphic, meaning 2 different leaf forms. Anyone have a Phlomis fruticosa? Jerusalem sage? Okay, we have a few people. For extra credit maybe, or a science project. Look at your Jerusalem sage, and you will notice in the wintertime, the leaves are a good one size. And then the plant blooms, and then the new leaf, and it drops some of its leaves, and the new leaves that come in are much smaller as the hot season is approaching. And there are a number of plants that have this characteristic called 2 different leaf forms, dimorphic. So your Jerusalem princess, your Jerusalem sage, have you seen that?
Yes.
Proof.
Princess proof.
Okay. So those are some characteristics of Mediterranean climates.